Hi everyone, Jov here. Welcome to another episode of the Test-Driven Development Screencast. Before we get into this video, I wanna make point on two things. The first one is the Jetpack Compose. So this week it went to release candidate 1 because later this month it's gonna become stable. I wanna say congratulations to the team. Jetpack Compose is huge. It's gonna definitely change the way we were building mobile applications so far, at least on Android. So that's one thing, and the other thing is that I'm gonna go for a little extended vacation from mid-July till somewhere at the end of August, which means I couldn't bring all the equipment with me and there won't be weekly episodes, so I'm gonna make a little pause. So this is gonna be, let's say, the first season, and then we are gonna start with a new season somewhere in August, like at the end of August, with fresh energy. Hopefully everything's gonna be just fine. So there won't be just a few episodes. So the next week I'm planning to make the last one for this season, and then we are gonna continue in August. So let's see how that's gonna go. Now we can jump into the code and see where we are. So basically we were working on a timeline, and we have a bunch of things in the UI to finish. There is the thread switching that has to be done and the loading states. So basically we need to make sure that we are exposing loading states towards the UI. Then we have to make sure the thread switching is happening in the timeline view model. That's gonna be something that we are gonna be taking a look in the next episode. Now in the UI, I wanted to see, like, let's take a look at where we are. So basically this is the timeline. So the last thing that here I want to make in the timeline is like I'm just gonna move this till the middle of the horizontally, the empty message, and then make a little spacing between the timeline and the message. And then I want to add a floating action button on the bottom right corner that's gonna bring us to a post composer. So that's gonna be something that I want to also include in the timeline, and I want to make as a whole the timeline to include the list, the button itself, and this empty message. And then that button functionality should bring us to the composer. We are not gonna start working on the composer just to make that screen available, so it's gonna bring us there. And then as I said, the last things of the timeline is going to be the loading state and the errors that have to be presented in a way. But as I said, that's going to be happening somewhere in the next episode. So for this one, the focus is to add that button and to make that navigation. So let's see how that's going to go. So first of all, if we go to the tests, we have two tests, and let's make sure that they are running well first. So I'm just gonna run the two UI tests there, opening the timeline, listing posts there. That's where we left off in the previous episode. So now what I want to do is, let's write a test. Actually this is JUnit 4, so I have to do that manually. Fun opens, shows available post, opens post composer. Let's scroll a little bit down. So what's gonna be happening is we are gonna launch the timeline for let's say testemail.com, and then some pass 1 2 3, something like that, and then the rule. So what we are gonna be doing here as an action, because I think here and here, yeah, we have no actions. Let's align these two. Here we are gonna be tap on create new post, and then verify that the new post composer is displayed. So I'm now thinking whether this post composer is the right name for the component that I wanna that we are gonna have for composing posts, because it might be the composer itself might be confusing with Jetpack Compose in a sense, but I think I'm just gonna go with this, at least post composer. So that's sort of my domain language, and if that's a problem, I'm gonna rename later, but for now I'm just gonna keep it. So let's create a member function here, and I'll say rule on node with tag. So I'm just gonna here I'm gonna be tapping on something with a tag. I'm gonna add a tag, but I'll reuse the same string not only for testing for the tag but also for the accessibility. So on node with tag create new post, perform click. So I want to keep my infix last here in this timeline robot. So all the interactions gonna be built before. That's just the way I prefer. Create new post, and that's gonna be a rule activity get string r string create new post. Now this one of course does not exist. Let's go ahead and create it. Create new post. That's about it. Back to the test. It's still not compiling because we don't have the new post composer is displayed. Let's create a member function, and here we can do the same. Rule on node with text at this time, because when we open the composer we are expecting a screen with a title where we're gonna see the create new post title. So this is gonna be on node with text, create new post, assert is displayed, and create new post is gonna be again the rule activity get string r string create new post. That's the one. Here we go. Let's run now the tests and make sure that this test is failing for the right reason. So opens post composer fails, and it fails because it says expected exactly one node but couldn't find any node that satisfies test tag create new post. That's great, that's what we wanted. So now let's work here in the timeline screen. So here in the timeline screen we are observing the live data that comes from the view model, but we are reacting only on the state when we receive real posts. So we are not reacting on the errors, we are not reacting on the loading. As I said, we are gonna be dealing with that in the next episode. In this episode, all we wanna do is to open this composer and have this button in place. So here we have this column, and we have the screen title, and as I said before, we want a spacer here that's gonna add a little bit spacing between whatever the content is and the screen title. So we're gonna say hide, I think something like 16 dp should be fine. We can always, you know, reduce or expand, it's not a problem. And now we have this post list. So the post list is the actual content, but because I want to have whatever the list is, I want to have a button on top of it. It's gonna be placed on the right bottom corner, but nonetheless it's on top of the list, so they act as like if I have a z-axis, or like if we assume this is a frame layout, the list is below, the bottom is on top. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wrap this in a box. Now the box gonna be a fill max size. and I'm gonna put the post list inside. And because as I said, I want to make the error message, not the error message, but the empty state message of the post list to the middle, in the middle of the screen. What I'm gonna do is I'll pass a modifier from here because I want to be able to manipulate the post list from here. My post list has to be a standalone component from my library, let's say, that I'll be able to, so the post list should expose a modifier, so whoever is calling it will be able to modify it in a way. So here I'm gonna just pass the posts, they are gonna be my posts, and then also I'll say modifier. It's gonna be a modifier because now I'm in a box scope, and the box scope allows me to align. Let's import this guy. Well, it's not gonna let me do that because here I'm not expecting a modifier. Let's do it. At least I'm gonna have some default modifier. That's the one. And now here, modifiers, I had a typo, so maybe it would have been allowing me, but yeah. Alignment, I think top center. Yes, that's the one. And now here, as I said in the post list, I get this modifier, and now I want to I want to apply it, but I want to apply it only when I have this, when the post is empty. So I'm presenting this empty timeline message. So only that one I want to move it to the middle. And because I want to do that, because when I have items, I'm presenting them in a scrollable list in a lazy column, and then the lazy column just feeds whatever, and then it should just feed the box, and then whatever comes inside is sort of story of its own. So I shouldn't be able to manipulate from anything in that regard from above. So I have this text here, and then I'm gonna say modifier is the modifier that comes from here. And if I want to add something here, I can just put like whatever I want to add. So it's gonna take whatever comes here. That's the idea. Whatever is being passed here will be taken, and then additionally it will add. Let's say if I want to do height or whatever, it's just take that in consideration and add these new things. So as I said, and for the column, I'm just gonna say fill max size. So it's gonna fill So it's just gonna fill whatever the parent is. So the parent is a box, it's just gonna fill it. That's what I wanted to do. So I'm not sure if I need this. I just have a box. I think, yeah, I'll see if I need to add it, but yeah, I just I deny to add things that might not be required. If I need that, I'll add it. At this moment I don't see a need to add it. So then I have the post list, and then what I need to do additionally here is to add the actual floating button. So floating action button, I'll deal with the on click later. So the floating action button is gonna have an icon. That's gonna be my like the default icons. Add. Let's make a little formatting here, and of course the content description is gonna be string resource string. Oops. Create new post. Great. And now I also think that I have to, for this floating action button, that's the on click, but I also have to provide a test tag. Test tag, which is going to be not get, but just string resource or string create new post. And now run the tests and see where we are. So let's notice if the click on the button is gonna be happening. Yeah, so it is happening, but nothing is like it fails because it's not navigating most probably, and that's what we expected to do. Let's see. So expected only exactly one node, but could not find any that satisfies text create new post. That's great. That's awesome. That's what we wanted. But as we noticed, let's maybe run the application and present it in the video. Test, whatever. And then here we can put also whatever. The button is on the top left. So I want it to be on the bottom right. Then additionally, I said here if I need it, I will add it. As we can see here, it is not this message is not in the middle of the horizontally. That means that this box is not expanding till the end because by default it is wrapped. So what we want to do is we want to say modifier is modifier fill max width, and that should fix it. But let's also add at the same time here, make this modifier align alignment bottom end to the right. Of course, for the left to right. Now we have another problem because intentionally I've done that. Intentionally I have here done max width, so it is only expanding horizontally, not vertically, so it should be size. And now everything should look well. Let's format the code. And indeed, it looks good. It looks the way we want it to look. And now the test fails, so let's fix the test finally. So here, what we're missing is that when we click on the button, we have to delegate up. We want to propagate up this click so that in the navigation, we'll notice that we are trying to navigate somewhere. So we have to be able to control it from there, and then in the navigation, open new screen or do whatever we want. So let's see. So here, we're just gonna take on create new post. That's gonna be a function that that will do nothing, but also I'm just gonna assign it to empty so that it won't be mandatory for whoever is calling this screen to pass. Well, I think maybe no. Maybe let's make it mandatory, because what's gonna happen if like you tap on the button and nothing happens? It doesn't make any sense. So now what we have to do is click it here. I mean, when we click call that on create new post, that's good. And now the last thing, I think, in a main activity here, indeed we have to pass here a function what's gonna be happening when somebody clicks on the button. On create new post, so these are not named. Maybe I should better name them. And then on create new post is going to be nav controller navigate create new post. Yeah, it fits well. So here we're gonna have a private const val create new post, create new post, just new path. And now we have to also define here a composable that will match that path, and where that's gonna be leading is a create new post screen. Now the create new post screen does not exist, so we have to create it. So here let's create a new package, post composer, let's say, and then here we are gonna create Kotlin file, and let's name this create new post screen. That's gonna be a composable. Oh, it created class, it should be file, so this is just gonna be composable function. And all I have to do here, because the test is demanding that, I need to have a label, some text that's gonna show create new post. But because I have a screen title right now, I can just reuse that. So I will say screen title, then just pass here r string create new post. I need to import this, and that's about it. Now this one is not imported here, so I just have to import. And that's it. I think this is gonna be sufficient to make the test pass. Let's see that in action. Exactly. So the test is passing, and we saw that in action here. So a little bit slower when you do manual thing. So manually entering the screen. Boom, create new post. Now we go back. As I said, creating new post is something that's gonna take place later on. Now we are completing the timeline. So as I said, what's missing in the timeline? Let's first check this in. So what we got here is we can navigate to the post composer from the timeline. Good. Now if I go back to my to-do list, from the UI I'm only missing the error and the loading. But before I do the error and the loading, I need to do the thread switching and write tests to make sure that the loading states are being exposed towards the UI, so the UI can observe that and show appropriately, because right now I have only errors, I don't have the loading state. That's something that I want to do first before, and then in the same phase I guess I'm just gonna do the thread switching. and ultimately in the timeline to complete it, display the error and the loading. And I might, yeah, just as we've done that with a sign up, we can also write tests to see these things. But because those are UI tests, and I think I don't have the logistics right now to do that, to write tests for the loading and for the error. In fact, I can, but I don't want to end up committing things that are not like a failing test, like, and push that to the repository. I think I'm just gonna start first from the tests for the loading state, to make sure that the loading state is being exposed to the UI. So here we're gonna have a new test that will be checking if all the states are sent towards the UI. So let's say first loading, then the actual posts, or first loading, then error, something like that. We've done that the same for the sign up. We can do the same for the timeline. But now I'm thinking, because I'm 26 minutes in, maybe offload this for the next video, and then in the next video complete all of these, and make it a little bit longer. So that's my idea. I think that's something that I can do in the next, indeed. Okay, so I think that's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you so much for the time and attention. I'm gonna catch you in the next episode. Bye bye.